Have you ever wondered about the deep strength inside you? The kind that waits for the hardest times? We all face struggles. Big ones, small ones. Sometimes life feels too heavy. It feels like we are stuck. But what if being stuck is just a starting point? What if our deepest wounds can lead to our greatest power? This is the magic of transformation. It is about changing from the inside out. It is about finding light in the darkest places. Transformation is not easy. It asks for courage. We must face our fears. We must look at our pain. This sounds hard, and it is. But the journey is worth it. Think about a tiny seed. It sits in the dark earth. It must break open to grow. It must push through the soil. Then it reaches for the sun. We are like that seed. Our challenges can help us break open. They can help us grow in ways we never imagined. This essay is about real people. People who faced rock bottom. They felt lost. They felt broken. But they did not stay there. They found something inside themselves. A spark. A hope. Meet John. His story starts in a very hard place. He was homeless. The city streets were his bed. Each day was a fight for survival. He felt invisible. He felt like he did not matter. The cold nights were long. Hunger was a constant friend. Hope was a distant memory. He carried everything he owned in a worn-out bag. Shame was a heavy blanket. He often wondered if things would ever change, or if this was all life had for him. John wasn't always on the streets. He once had a job. He had a small apartment. But life can change fast. A job loss, a series of bad luck. One thing led to another. Soon he lost everything. It was a slow fall, then a sudden crash. He found himself with nowhere to go. The support he thought he had disappeared. He felt completely alone. The world seemed to pass him by. People walked past, not seeing him, not seeing his pain. Living on the streets was brutal. It was more than just being without a home. It was about losing dignity. It was about constant fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of violence. Fear of the future. Or the lack of one. John tried to find help. One day, something shifted for John. It wasn't a big miracle. It was a small moment. He saw a discarded book about starting a small business. He picked it up. He started reading. Something sparked inside him. An idea. A tiny, fragile idea. He had always been good with his hands. He knew how to fix things. What if he could use that skill? What if he could offer a service? This was his pivotal moment of change. A small light in the darkness. John started small. Very small. He used his last few dollars to buy some basic tools. He offered to fix things for people in his neighborhood, small repairs, odd jobs. At first it was tough. People were hesitant, but John was persistent. He was honest. He did good work. Slowly, word started to spread. People began to trust him. Each small job was a victory. Each earned dollar was a step up. He started to feel a sense of purpose again. His little repair service grew. He saved every penny. Now let's turn to Asha. Her story is different. But it is also about finding strength in a dark place. Asha was married. From the outside, her life might have looked normal. But inside her home, it was a different story. She lived in an abusive marriage. Her husband controlled her. He hurt her with words, sometimes with his hands. Asha felt trapped. She felt small. Her spirit was slowly breaking. Each day was filled with fear and anxiety. Asha grew up believing that marriage was forever. She thought she had to endure it. She thought it was her fault. Her husband made her believe that. He isolated her from her friends. He cut her off from her family. She had no one to talk to, no one to turn to. The silence in her home was deafening. It was filled with unspoken pain. She tried to be perfect. She tried to please him, but nothing worked. The abuse continued. She lost herself in the marriage. She forgot who she was. She forgot her dreams. Her laughter faded. Her light dimmed. She lived in constant fear of his moods. She walked on eggshells. She felt like a prisoner in her own home. Asha's turning point came one evening. After a particularly bad fight, she looked at her reflection. She barely recognized the person staring back. Tired eyes. A face etched with sadness. In that moment, something snapped. A tiny voice inside her whispered, "Enough." This was not the life she deserved. This was not the life she wanted for herself. That whisper grew into a roar of courage. She decided she had to leave. It was the scariest decision of her life. Gathering her courage was a monumental task. She secretly reached out to a local women's shelter. They offered her support. They offered her a way out. One day when her husband was at work, she packed a small bag. With trembling hands, she walked out the door. She did not look back. The first few months were incredibly hard. She had to rebuild her life from scratch. But she was free, she was safe, that was all that mattered. As Asha healed, she found her voice. She started sharing her story, she realized she was not alone. So many women faced similar situations. Let us consider David's journey. His life changed in an instant. David was young, he was active, he loved sports, he had a bright future ahead. One sunny afternoon he was in a terrible car accident. The accident was severe. When he woke up in the hospital, his world had shattered. The doctors told him the news. He had a severe spinal cord injury. He would likely never walk again. His legs were paralyzed. The news was devastating. David felt like his life was over. He was confined to a wheelchair. Everything he loved, everything he planned seemed impossible now. He felt angry, he felt sad, he felt hopeless. The physical pain was immense, but the emotional pain was even worse. He grieved for the life he had lost. He grieved for the future he thought he would have. The world he knew had stood still. He was trapped in a body that no longer obeyed him. The days turned into weeks, the weeks into months. David went through intense physiotherapy. It was grueling, it was painful, progress was slow. So slow it felt like no progress at all. One day, during a therapy session, David saw a poster. It was for a marathon, an image of runners crossing the finish line. Something clicked. A wild, audacious idea formed in his mind. What if he could do that? Not running perhaps, but completing a marathon in his wheelchair. The doctors said it was impossible, many thought he was crazy, but the idea took root. It gave him a goal, it gave him a purpose. This was his pivotal moment. The will to rise ignited. David started training. It was incredibly difficult. He pushed his body to its limits, and then beyond. His arms ached, his hands blistered. There were days he cried from exhaustion and frustration, but he did not stop. He trained for hours every day, rain or shine. He was fueled by an inner fire, a determination to prove everyone wrong, to prove to himself that he was still strong, that he was still capable. This was a marathon of the mind as much as the body. The day of the marathon arrived. David was nervous, but he was also ready. The race was long, it was grueling. The miles stretched on, his muscles screamed, but he kept going. John, Asha, David, 3 different people, 3 different struggles, 3 incredible transformations. Their stories are unique, yet there are common threads woven through them, unseen threads that connect their journeys. These threads are courage, resilience, and hope. These are the qualities that help them rise from rock bottom. These are the qualities that live within all of us, waiting to be awakened when we need them most. Courage was their first step, the courage to face reality, the courage to make a change. For John, it was the courage to pick up a book and try something new. For Asha, it was the courage to walk away from abuse. For David, it was the courage to dream of a marathon. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is feeling the fear, and doing it anyway. It is about taking that first difficult step into the unknown. It is about choosing to fight. Resilience was their constant companion, the ability to bounce back, to keep going, even when things were incredibly hard. John faced setbacks building his business. The stories of John, Asha, and David are powerful. They are inspiring. They show us what is possible when human beings tap into their inner strength. They remind us that rock bottom can be a solid foundation, a foundation on which to build a new life, a stronger life, a more meaningful life. Their journeys were not easy. They were filled with pain, struggle, and doubt. But they chose to rise. They chose to transform. You might be facing your own challenges right now, your own rock bottom. It might feel overwhelming. It might feel impossible to overcome. But remember these stories. Remember John's journey from the streets to success. Remember Asha's escape from silence to empowerment. Remember David's defiance of limits to cross the finish line. Their transformations began with a choice to believe in themselves, a choice to take action, a choice to embrace change. The power to change your life lies within you. It is not about grand gestures, it is about small steps, consistent steps. It is about finding your courage, nurturing your resilience, holding on to hope.